So for this last match, we were up against some sort of like Grixis Midrange or something. It's basically Mardu Midrange, but without any white in it. So there's no crackling dooms, there's nothing like that. But there's Pia and Kieran's, and so I'm not really sure what it is. I'm gonna call it Grixis Midrange. But so we get a pretty good opening hand. Turn 1 Jotty, turn 2 Rattle. Hopefully a turn 3 Hedron Archive. So you just can't really ask for anything better as an opening hand. And hopefully we just draw into some pretty good stuff. If nothing else, we've at least got our turn 1 Jotty. And so I thought how long he was looking at it, he was going to kill it in some way, but he just finally lets it come in. And unfortunately we lose our Rattleclaw, so that was pretty depressing. But we get the turn 3 Pilgrimage. Or, no, we did not get turn 3 Pilgrimage. We got turn 4 Pilgrimage, which we decided to go on and play for the life gain. If you see red, you just kind of have to gain some life. You know, you can't just sit here and, especially blind. First game, we really just didn't know what they were playing. And so every time we play land, we're just negating, you know, a bunch of their damage. P and Kieran's pretty cool, but they don't really, you know, push a lot of damage on the board. He duresses away our Great Aurora, which really sucked. But so we end the turn, sack Hedron Archive to get some cards, hit a veggies, so we just completely negate damage he dealt last turn. But at this point, we're really just hoping for, you know, something pretty good. Didn't block P and Kieran because he did not attack with it the last turn, which signaled to me he knew I would just block it and it wouldn't get him for damage. So since he attacked with it this turn, that tells me that he's trying to do some sort of combat trick, and he had the Kolaghan's command, so he would have blasted one of my Jotties. It just, I mean, if you're going to make plays, you know, like that, then you just need to stay aggressive with all your stuff so that I don't really know what you're doing and when you're doing it. When you just hold it back because you know I'll block, and then you attack the next turn with it, that tells me you're going to do a combat trick. So you should really try and avoid stuff like that. Just always stay aggressive. Especially against any of these ramp decks, the Ulamog, Eldrazi versions, the only way you're going to win is just being aggressive. So, and especially when you've got red in your deck, you can threaten Wild Slash, Fiery Impulse, anything you want at any time as long as you have cards in your hand. So, if you're not threatening something aggressive, you're not really doing anything. And so now at this point, you know, we've stabilized for a bunch of turns, but he gets, you know, just a Thunder Breakdown, and we're starting to get pretty scared, but we get a clutch Dig Through Time off the top. We just try and float as much mana as we can. We only get one extra, so that's not really very great. But we hit a pretty good amount of lands off of our Aurora. Enough to Hedron Archive and Renewal. So we're going to go back above 20. And then we have 2 Wealths. So obviously we're going to play one next turn. I was pretty concerned that because of his blue splashes that he had some sort of counter spells, but once again, if they tap down, we're just wealthing. And a 10x wealth is just great anyway. 10x basically allows you to play, I can't think of anything it does not allow you to play in our metagame right now. You can play Ulamogs, you can play Ugins, just whatever you want. And so we get P and Kieran of our own, so we can have some pretty good blockers. We get some Ruinous Path, which we decide to go in and just blast on him. We Murderous Cut. And so here's something to talk about again with playing everything out. We already had the 2 Murderous Cuts that we could kill Rattleclaws with, and so playing the Ruinous Path is just dumb, honestly. We see that he has cuts so he can delve. We're just adding more delve fuel for him for any further cuts he gets or whatever. So it was actually just wrong to play all of these. We should have only played 2 of them. So, oh well. But we get an Ob Nixilis, that's pretty cool. And 2 Thunder Breaks is just great. So if he tries to kill his own Thunder Breaks, he's losing card advantage on that just to begin with. And he's also going to take 3 damage from his own Thunder Breaks. So that's just awesome. You know, Ob Nixilis is going to draw some cards. We don't really need them, but, you know, and since we don't really need cards, I just decided to kill a Thopter, even though that's not very efficient. And so now we're going to draw a card just because we can, and then we can kill something else. And we just decided to go in and play an 11x Wealth. We hit just some Draconic Roars to blast off his board, duress out. I believe I take Kolaghan's Command. I can't imagine me I took the Ruinous Pass so he couldn't kill his Ob Nixilis. I wanted to be able to blast something with Ob Nixilis, but he ends up playing the Clutch Dragon Lord Silumgar, getting back his own Ob Nixilis. And so we decided to just float a bunch of Aurora. We can't allow this to go on like that. We can't allow him to just take his Silumgar back. And so at this point, though, we have a 14x Wealth, and we decided to just go for it because he's at 12 cards left. So let's go on to match number 2. So game number 2, on the draw, obviously. I can almost bet that obviously there's Void Winnower, so I did the whole, you know, he's got black, so we have to bring a bunch of creatures in plan. This isn't, it wasn't an incredibly great hand, but I actually had intended to keep it. And I believe I hit Mulligan by mistake, but at least it paid off. This was honestly a much better hand than what I had before. And we even hit an Oblivion Sower. So we just honestly intended to keep that last hand, and I'm pretty sure I hit Mulligan by mistake. But he just is gonna, you know, do his hangerback thing. I'm surprised he took veggies. I think. I guess maybe he took veggies so that I couldn't get my other 2 colors, but since I had 2 of them anyway and an Oblivion Sower, I just don't know. Seems like if you're going to take one, Pilgrimage may have been the better one to take, but I could see it going either way. We just go ahead and decide to hit this Sower. We hit nothing but land, but we don't want to take the fetches. We just want to leave those exiled. He paths my Oblivion Sower, so that pretty much sucked. But now we're going to hit a Renewal, gain some life, negate the damage he's doing. Unfortunately, we were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were 1 mana off from playing an additional Renewal in the same turn, so we weren't too happy about that, but our deck's thinning out of land now, so we're getting some pretty live draws. He duresses a forest. We're pretty happy about that. But from here, we proceed to just draw garbage. And he's got plenty of damage on board, and so now we just lose. We decided to just go in and play the Pilgrimage just for fun. And this looked to be a really good game, and we have just mana everywhere, but his board state got out of control. This is what the Auroras are for, is to make sure, you know, he's only got 4 mana, and was able to just aggro us down, though, with what he had on board. So that game did not go anywhere what we wanted it to, or, you know, we weren't even able to make it go as long as we wanted to. So just did not get there this game, and would have been really great to see what had happened if I kept that first hand, but oh well. So on to game number 3. So game number 3, we're obviously on the play again. This is just a keep. I mean, even if he duresses us on turn 1, we have 2 more 3-drop ramp spells we can draw into our Rattle Claws if we want. So this just, it's not a great hand, but you just can't throw this back. I mean, and we even get a turn 2 Jotty, so we start gaining some life. He's just playing mono nothing right now. And so here's more life gain, making sure we also hit our land drops. Duresses out a veggies, and once again, I can't really imagine taking veggies at this point. I feel like you have to hit the renewal. That gains me life and gives me more card advantage by giving me 3 land instead of 2. So I just can't imagine taking veggies there. And he ruined his paths are our Rattleclaw, but it just didn't matter at that point. We had enough land to just play Renewal anyway. And we're also at 36 life now. So he is just really, really far behind, and this PN Kieran is just not going to do it for him. And so we just float the mana, play the Aurora. Only 2 extra, but at least they are 2 blue. Once again, we can play a dig if we need to. But this wasn't a particularly great Aurora, although, you know, we were able to play Oblivion Sower, and then because of that, we could play a Ajati and the veggies, whereas we could have only played Sower and Veggie without that land hit, so that was pretty cool. And now we have an additional land to wealth with. We've got some life gain, we've got some blockers, but he cuts off the Oblivion Sower and duresses to make sure we have nothing else that we can really use, so we just play everything we can, try and gain a bunch of life. This is really reminiscent of the last game and was kind of worrisome because, you know, we play our hand out, we've got all this stuff, but yeah, I mean, and he chose to sacrifice a Thopter to blow away my Rattleclaw pre-combat, which didn't seem very smart. It seemed like he should have just went ahead and attacked and then blew it up. But, and once again, so we're just hitting, you know, mono garbage at this point. Gaining 3 life off of a land every turn is okay. You know, we're negating some of his damage, but we're not really doing a whole lot. And so at this point, we're just trying to save any point of damage we can. Maybe that was wrong because I didn't really think about that he could, you know, because he pre-combat sacked a Thopter before, I didn't really think about him doing it again. So he was able to blast a Ajati, but we got the Clutch Aurora off the top, so it worked out okay for us. We decided to just play some ramp stuff because we have 2 wealths. And as well, we can dig at the end of his turn in case he duresses out our wealths or, you know, whatever he wants to try and do. We've got way more than enough mana in Graveyard to dig. And so he's going to try and set up his board here. And as well, since he had a blue land, at the end of his turn, we wanted to try and be able to dig to pull out any sort of counterspell he may have had, but, I mean, once he tapped the blue, we already had 2 wealths. We were planning on just wealthing the next turn, so that's why we did not end up digging at the end of his turn. It just didn't matter. So if at the end of their turn they haven't duressed or anything, they have no open blue mana, and you already have 2 wealths, it just, you don't need to dig. You might as well just save that for a later time when it matters more. So, I mean, he has some board state. We hit a 10x wealth. And he just decides to quit from there. I guess he decides that he cannot beat a 10x wealth. I have no idea what I hit off of it, but I can only imagine it was some sort of removal. And even though I take 3 from the Thunderbreak, that only put me to 35. He only has a 1/1 hangerback, and I was likely to hit just, you know, other Thunderbreaks or whatever. So he decides he's had enough and just says screw it. So be sure and like and subscribe, and see you on the wrap up.